She gave herself to her lover while my husband sat there smiling. It started like a fairy tale, drenched in warmth and wrapped in the kind of love that poets could only dream of. The air between them was always thick with longing, with glances that lingered too long and silences that said too much. The nights were soft, filled with whispered dreams and kisses that tasted like promises. It was the kind of connection that made everything else fade. The world stood still when they touched. But no one warns you how fast love can turn into something else. Something sharp. Something that cuts you from the inside. He used to look at her like she was the only woman in the universe, like every curve of her body was crafted just for him. His hands were always gentle at first, tracing the lines of her spine, pressing kisses along her neck like he was writing poetry in a language only she could understand. Every touch was slow and deliberate, building the fire inside her until she was trembling, craving more. The nights felt infinite when he was wrapped around her. He'd whisper things in the dark that made her feel sacred and sinful at the same time. But time has a cruel way of changing people. Or maybe it just reveals what's been there all along. The tenderness slowly shifted into distance. The kisses lost their meaning. The whispers turned into silences, and the fire faded into ash. The moments that once burned with passion became routine. The touch that used to make her ache now felt cold, disconnected. Something had changed. Something deep. Something unforgivable. She noticed it the day he came home smelling like another woman's perfume. Floral and heady, not hers. When she asked, he smiled, deflecting her suspicion with a charm that used to make her knees weak but now made her stomach turn. He made her feel crazy for even asking. But the truth doesn't stay hidden for long. It has a habit of clawing its way to the surface, even if it rips your soul apart in the process. And then there was the other man. He was dangerous in a way the first never was. He didn't need to say much. His eyes told her everything. Dark, commanding, filled with a heat that felt both thrilling and forbidden. He didn't ask for her attention. He took it. Every time he entered the room, her heart beat louder, her breath shortened, her thighs pressed together instinctively. There was something primal in the way he looked at her, like he could see right through her, like he already knew what she needed, even if she hadn't admitted it yet. The first time he touched her, it wasn't soft or hesitant. It was firm, possessive, as though he had every right to claim her. His fingers dug into her waist, pulling her close until there was no space left between them. His lips crashed onto hers, hot and hungry, devouring her doubts and feeding the fire that had been starving for too long. She should have pulled away. But she didn't. She kissed him back like she'd been waiting for him her whole life. What followed was madness. She was torn between guilt and desire, between what she knew was right and what her body begged for. He didn't make love to her. He conquered her. Every touch felt like a storm, every kiss a battle. When his mouth traveled lower, she gasped, her body betraying every ounce of hesitation. He took his time exploring her, tasting her skin like it was the sweetest thing he'd ever known. She'd never felt so exposed, so worshipped, so ruined. And then came the moment that changed everything. It happened on a night that should have been ordinary. Dim lights, soft music, the scent of wine and deception hanging in the air. Her husband sat across from her, pretending to be the perfect man in front of their guests. His smile was so convincing, no one would have guessed what he knew. But she saw it, the flicker in his eyes, the silent mockery in the curve of his lips. He knew. And yet he said nothing. Instead he watched as the man she'd been hiding her hunger for sat next to her, bold and unapologetic. Watched as her fingers brushed against his under the table, sending a jolt of electricity through her. Watched as her lips parted slightly in response to the touch that no one else could see. He didn't speak a word. He just smiled. It was sickening. But what made her blood run cold was that he didn't seem angry. No yelling, no confrontation. Just calm acceptance, like he was silently daring her to fall deeper into the abyss. Like he wanted to see how far she'd go, how much of herself she would give away before realizing she'd already lost everything. That night, her lover didn't wait. As soon as the guests were gone and the silence fell heavy around them, he pulled her into the hallway and pinned her against the wall. Her husband was just upstairs. Every breath, every moan, every wet sound of lips and tongue and skin on skin echoed through the house. She knew he could hear it. She wanted him to. She wanted to punish him. His betrayal had left her shattered, empty. She wanted him to feel what it was like to be powerless, to hear the woman he'd neglected find pleasure in someone else. So she didn't hold back. She clawed at her lover's back, bit his shoulder, begged for more. And he gave it to her. Harder, rougher, deeper. Every thrust felt like vengeance. Every cry that left her lips was a confession. And it didn't stop that night. What started as a single act of rebellion turned into something darker, something addictive. She craved the way her lover took control, the way he made her feel every inch of his dominance. He was relentless, thick, unyielding, stretching her open until she couldn't think, couldn't speak. The first time he took her on the floor, she couldn't walk properly for 3 days. The ache between her thighs was brutal and exquisite. He left marks on her hips, bruises on her chest, and a hunger she couldn't satisfy anywhere else. And still her husband said nothing. He'd look at her with those same eyes, smiling like he knew all her secrets, like he was enjoying the show. It was terrifying. It was thrilling. She didn't know who she was anymore. A betrayed wife, a reckless lover, or a woman finally embracing the fire inside her. But beneath it all, something was building. Tension. A storm waiting to break. Because secrets never stay buried. Lust always comes with a price. And the man who sits smiling in silence is often the one planning the most painful revenge. Days turned into nights, and nights into something darker. A whirlwind of fevered touches and desperate, forbidden desire. She could no longer tell where the guilt ended and the craving began. Every time he called her, she came. Every time he touched her, she opened like a flower in bloom. The more wrong it felt, the more right her body responded. It was no longer about love. It was hunger, raw, carnal, unrelenting. Her lover knew exactly how to bend her. He played her body like an instrument, drawing moans that echoed off the walls. His tongue explored her slowly, taking his time, teasing until her thighs trembled and her voice broke. And when he finally filled her, thick, impossibly big, stretching her open again and again, it was like being split apart and rebuilt in the same moment. She didn't just feel him inside her. She felt owned, consumed. It wasn't just sex. It was surrender. It was war. It was punishment. And she was addicted. She started taking risks she would have never imagined. Meeting him in the car behind a grocery store, panties shoved to the side as he pounded into her from behind. Letting him pull her into a locked office room during a dinner party. His hand over her mouth to silence her cries as he fucked her on the table. His favorite thing was taking her when she least expected it, when she was vulnerable, flustered, aching. And she let him. Every single time. But what unsettled her more than the pleasure was how her husband never said a word. He wasn't blind. She knew he wasn't stupid. He noticed the bite marks, the way she limped sometimes, the scratches that couldn't be explained away. He saw the way her eyes lit up when her lover entered the room. He heard the muffled screams through the walls. And still, nothing. Until the night of the storm. Thunder cracked across the sky like a warning, lightning lighting up the room in sharp, blinding flashes. The air felt charged, like something terrible was about to break. She stood at the mirror, fixing her hair, trying to ignore the knot in her stomach. Her husband was downstairs, sipping wine and smiling as always, the kind of smile that no longer meant peace. Her lover was expected any minute. She thought it would be another night of reckless indulgence. She was wrong. He arrived dripping wet, his shirt clinging to his broad chest. His jeans soaked but tight against his thighs. She pulled him inside without a word, her hands already on his belt. But before they could get upstairs, her husband appeared at the end of the hall, watching them. Still smiling. Still silent. The moment froze. She expected a confrontation. Scream. lap. But instead, he simply nodded and turned away, disappearing into the shadows. It was the most terrifying thing she'd ever seen. Her lover didn't care. He pushed her up against the wall and ripped her blouse open, kissing her so hard it bruised. Her breasts spilled out, nipples hard and begging for his mouth. He sucked them greedily, hands gripping her waist as she wrapped her legs around his hips. She could barely breathe as he shoved his thick length deep inside her. Raw, hard, perfect. She cried out, nails dragging down his back, walls gripping him so tightly he groaned her name into her throat. He took her there on the hallway floor, while her husband sat somewhere in the house listening. The thought of being caught, no, the certainty of it, only made her wetter. Her body was on fire. She begged him not to stop, begged him to ruin her, begged him to make her forget everything. And he did. He turned her over, face pressed into the carpet as he pounded into her from behind. Her screams echoed, shameless and wild. He pulled her hair, slapped her ass, told her she was his now. And she believed it. She came hard around him, legs shaking, body collapsing. But he didn't stop. Not even when she said she couldn't take more. Not even when she begged for mercy. He kept going until she came again. Louder, messier, broken. She didn't walk right for 3 days after that. Every inch of her was sore. Her thighs ached, her hips were bruised, and her core felt stretched beyond recognition. He'd filled her so deeply, she still felt him long after he left. But beneath the pleasure was fear. Something was wrong. Her husband wasn't just ignoring her anymore. He was planning something. She could feel it. One night, she came home late, hours after she'd said she would. Her lover had taken her in the car again, parked under a bridge, fogged up windows hiding the frantic movement inside. Her dress was still wrinkled when she walked in. Her husband was waiting at the kitchen table, a single candle lit, wine glass full. He gestured to the chair across from him. Sit. It was the first word he'd said to her in weeks. She sat. Her heart pounded. Her thighs still ached. He watched her with unreadable eyes. You enjoy him? He asked, voice calm. She blinked, unsure if he was serious. What? The man you've been sleeping with. You like him. She swallowed. I don't. Don't lie, he said softly. I know everything. I've always known. The silence was deafening. She opened her mouth to apologize, but he held up a hand. I'm not angry, he said. I'm fascinated. Watching you become this version of yourself. You think I didn't see it coming. You were slipping away long before he touched you. Her stomach turned. He sipped his wine and smiled again, the same smile that haunted her. I just want to see how far you'll go. His words cut deeper than any betrayal. She stood up, unable to take more, but his final words followed her like a shadow. Be careful who you give your body to. Some men don't just want to take you. They want to destroy you from the inside out. That night she lay in bed shaking. Her husband didn't join her. Her lover didn't call. And for the first time in weeks, she felt truly alone. But the worst was yet to come. She began noticing strange things. Her lover became distant, distracted. He'd take her hard one night, then vanish for days. He didn't answer her texts. When she confronted him, he brushed her off. Busy, he'd say. But something was off in his eyes. He wasn't just hiding something, he was changing. Her husband, on the other hand, was calm. Calm. He made her breakfast, bought her flowers, kissed her forehead like nothing was wrong. It made her sick. One morning, she found a letter under her pillow. You gave yourself to him. Now watch what he does with you. There was no signature. She tried to ignore it, tried to pretend things were normal. But the doubt grew louder. And then, 3 nights later, it happened. Her lover came to her, wild-eyed, breathing hard. He pulled her into the basement without a word, slammed the door shut, and took her against the wall like a man possessed. There was no foreplay, no teasing. He unzipped, lifted her skirt, and thrust into her so deep she screamed. He was even bigger than she remembered. Thicker, harder, ruthless. She clung to him, nails digging into his shoulders, crying out as he fucked her without mercy. The pain was sharp, but the pleasure was sharper. Her walls stretched to accommodate him, dripping wet, her body betraying her again. He came inside her with a roar, holding her down, filling her to the brim. She collapsed after, trembling, unable to speak. He whispered in her ear, voice colder than ever. He knows. And he's watching. She froze. What? But he was already gone. Upstairs, she found her husband sitting in the living room, watching an old video of their wedding. Her dress. His vows. Her smile. He turned slowly, wine in hand. Enjoy your first night again. She stared at him, mouth dry. You think you were in control, he said, voice low. But this whole time you've been dancing to my tune. She backed away. What did you do? His smile widened. I gave you to him. Told him how to break you. How to take you so thoroughly you'd never walk straight again. And he listened. Her blood ran cold. He stood, walked toward her, and whispered against her ear. You thought it was your choice. But I orchestrated every moan, every thrust, every scream. The room spun. Everything, every pleasure, every bruise, every moment she thought was hers, had been his game all along, and she had walked right into it. She stood frozen, her heart pounding like a drum inside her chest. The walls seemed to close in. Everything she thought she controlled, every lie, every secret moment of lust, had been nothing more than part of his design. Her husband, quiet one, the man who had smiled through every bruise, every moan that wasn't for him. He wasn't a victim. He was the puppeteer. Her knees buckled beneath her as the truth crushed her. She collapsed to the floor, shaking, her body still sore from the relentless pounding her lover had given her just minutes ago. But now, even that memory was tainted. Because it hadn't been hers. It had been a performance, for an audience of one. Her husband knelt beside her, gently brushing a strand of hair from her face. Do you want to know why I didn't stop you? He whispered. She looked up with tear-filled eyes. Because I wanted to see you fall. Completely. I wanted to watch you beg for him, moan for him, scream for him. While knowing all of it was my idea. She tried to speak, but no words came. He continued, his tone calm but cold. You thought he loved you. That he was doing it because he couldn't resist you. But I paid him. Trained him. Told him exactly what you liked. And what would break you. She gasped, her chest heaving. You paid him. He nodded. And now he's done with you. Just like I planned. Her stomach turned. Passion. Pain. The way he stretched her so deep, made her scream until her voice was hoarse. It had never been real. Had been a transaction. But why? She cried. Why do this to me? He stood slowly. Because I loved you. And you broke me first. She wanted to argue, to deny it. But how could she? She had given her body away, again and again, while her husband watched her fall deeper into another man's arms. Her betrayal wasn't just sexual, it was emotional. And now she was the one shattered. Over the next few days she became a shell. She stayed in bed, unable to move, her legs still sore from that last brutal night, the one that had felt more like punishment than passion. Her body still throbbed from how deep her lover had gone, pushing into places that made her cry out in pain and ecstasy. She hadn't been able to walk properly for days. And now, she didn't want to walk at all. But her husband didn't leave. He cooked for her, brought her tea, held her when she cried, as if nothing had happened. Until the night everything changed. She woke up in the middle of the night, drenched in sweat. The house was silent. Too silent. She tiptoed downstairs and found her husband gone. His phone sat on the kitchen counter, unlocked. She knew she shouldn't look. But curiosity burned. What she found destroyed her. Hundreds of messages, voice notes, videos, all between her husband and the man she had given herself to. In one video, her lover laughed and said, She thinks I love her. But all I love is how tight she gets when she cries. In another, he was behind her, thrusting hard, recording her face as she sobbed and moaned. Her husband's voice was in the background, directing him. Faster. She loves it rough. Her legs gave out. Tears blurred her vision. Every orgasm, every cry, every I can't take it had been filmed, shared, discussed. She had been nothing more than an object in their twisted game. Her shame was entertainment. Her pleasure was a lie. She wanted to scream. But instead she burned. A fire she didn't know she had lit up inside her. It wasn't just anger. It was vengeance. She waited. Patiently. Her husband came home an hour later, acting normal. But she had changed. She greeted him sweetly. Kissed his cheek. Cooked his favorite meal. That night, she took him to bed for the first time in months. He didn't know it was goodbye. She let him touch her. Let him kiss her neck, explore her like a man reclaiming lost territory. She even moaned his name, softly, pretending it was real. And when he entered her, slowly, carefully, lovingly, she smiled in the dark. Not because it felt good, but because she knew what she was about to do. The next morning he was dead. They said it was a heart attack. Sudden. Unexpected. But only she knew the truth. The wine had been poisoned. And the lover. She left him a final gift. Flash drive. With every recording, every message, every video. She mailed it to his wife. And disappeared. No one heard from her again. Some said she changed her name. Moved to another country. Others said she couldn't live with what she'd done and vanished into the mountains. But one thing was certain. She had given herself to her lover while her husband sat there smiling. But in the end, she made sure she was the one smiling last. The end. Full story.